Good morning to all of you. I love speaking in front of a Mumbai crowd. I grew up not far from here, but unfortunately, in 1981, let me stand here. In 1981, I left Mumbai. There's something about Mumbaikars and visitors to Mumbai. There's a level of energy that you see. It's something that you see in New York City. So anyway, welcome, and thank you for coming for this session. Sounds like love is in the air. Pankaj talked about Valentine's Day, and I purposely changed my slide from customer relationship to customer intimacy. So anyway, happy Valentine's Day to all of you, and make sure you send flowers and chocolates to your dear ones, especially your customers. So I'd like to talk about three things that define customer relationship and customer experience, intimacy. Can I get to the first slide, please? So the first one is around what I call the third wave. And this is the third wave in the IT industry. And this is significantly deepening the relationship between all the players involved in the space. Be it clients, their clients' partners, their clients' suppliers, or the clients' end users as well. So let me talk about what this third wave is. The first wave in the IT industry started in the early 80s. It was all around having back office implementation work, bottom line impacting, creating internal IT applications for the global 1,000 companies. And the Indian companies have done fabulously there. I mean, today you find there are at least 5 companies generating $1 billion in revenue every quarter. Just outstanding work done there. The next wave was the BPO wave. And even there we are doing extremely well. And you'll find most of the first wave companies today have a BPO. The third wave is fairly new. And that wave is all around doing core R&D work out of India. It actually started very slowly in the mid-90s. But it's only in the last 5 years it has dramatically accelerated. Some of the proof points that you see are examples of Cisco recently announced setting up an R&D hub in India and investing over $1 billion. Oracle is another example. They were only about 3,000 people somewhere in the early 2000s, to now there are 20,000 people. SAP is another 10,000. Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, you name it, they are all investing very significantly in R&D in India. You also saw emergence of some of the service providers in this space. And Symphony Services happens to be one of them, exclusively focused on R&D. And the first wave companies took close to 17, 18, 19 years to get to $100 million in revenue. Symphony Services took 4 years to get to that level. So all that I'm trying to say here is this third wave is very real. It's here to stay, and it's probably the next direction where the IT industry is moving to. So the one thing that you talk about the third wave is R&D. When you talk R&D, you are talking revenue. And whenever revenue is associated, the nature of the work becomes very, very dynamic. You've got to respond to the next changing conditions in the market. And that is what makes this third wave very interactive, very communicative, and very intimate. So there are multiple relationships I talked about in the third wave. What I would like to focus on are two very critical and important relationships. The first one is around the client and the partner intimacy. I call this collapse of the wall stage. If you look at the first wave, it was a lot around over-the-wall relationship. The client defined a spec. They shipped the spec or threw the spec over the wall. Service providers at this end took 6 weeks or 6 months to produce a code, and in return really came back and threw it back over the wall, the code that implemented to that spec. Very far, long-distance relationship, but now fast forward to today, when you talk about core R&D, where, as I talked earlier, the nature of the work tends to be very dynamic. You can't afford that wall to stay in place. So you have to knock that wall down. So the relationship is lot more interactive, lot more conducive. Now let's look at from a client perspective. If you're a client, what are some of the 3 things that you should be looking at doing to deepen this relationship? So I call it the 3 E's for the client. The first E is around treat the people in the partner organization as true extensions of your own team. If you treat the partner employees as second-class citizens, you're going to get second-class output. And heaven forbid, if you get second-class output on your revenue-generating product, you're going to be a second-class company. The second E is around exposure. Expose the client employees to your organization, to your executives, to your employees, and also to your end customers. It's only when they are exposed to all of your constituents will they be able to produce the goods that will meet the needs of all the constituents. The third thing will be engage. Engage with the partner employees. We encourage all our client executives to visit our employees, which are their teams, once a quarter, and talk to them. Talk to them about the progress of the company. Talk to them where the company is moving, how the company is doing, reward them, recognize them for their efforts. So these are the 3 primary elements that from a client perspective you need to be thinking about.